Welcome to the boolean modifier. In this video we're going to experiment with a boolean modifier, understanding how it works. We're going to understand how to apply it to our model. Learn that it can be used constructively and destructively. It can and will work in edit mode if you choose. And also it's real-time and live, which is exciting. Not all modifiers are. So let's hop over straight into Blender. So before we start using this boolean modifier, what we'll need to do is create another object in our scene. So I'm going to place the 3D cursor just somewhere random over in space here and go and create us. I am in edit mode. I will need to be in object mode in this case. I know it works in edit mode, but I do want to keep these separate to demonstrate. So I'm going to hold down Shift and A and add a new mesh of UV sphere. Now I'm going to set the segments here down massively. They don't need to be quite so high, maybe 8 and 4. That feels about right. 184, 84, and I'm going to increase it just a little. There we go. So we're going to move this now so it's against our bishop. Well, let's just push it in and eventually it will go close and close and close, and I'm just going to grab it and move it down there. Excellent. So now that it's in our model, we can decide how we want to work. Leaving the sphere there, we're going to shift this over a little and go to our little spanner or modifier icon, and we're going to add a modifier, and again it's in the second column, the generate column, and it's boolean just there. Once we click that, we have to select an object to apply it to. Now, boolean operations can only apply to other mesh objects. So in this case, we've got this mesh object here, the LP bishop. So we're going to put that in there. Okay, so the first thing that this has done is we've now removed anything that's not within our bishop itself. And we can demonstrate that by applying it and then just moving it back out. You'll see that we're left with a surface of the bishop on cut away from here. So we've still got our sphere on this side but not on that side. So let's plonk it back in, undo a couple of steps so we can work on there. If we shift into wireframe mode, this is quite exciting. We can see it as it passes through. So if we set the object back to low poly bishop, we can see what will be left as we're moving through. Quite cool. And that's with it set the operation as intersect. What else do we have? We have difference and union. Well, union, as it sounds, combines the two together. So if we then applied this, that would become one mesh without, as you can see, there's no sphere inside. Now, the difference does the exact opposite. It's going to cut away the bishop shape from the sphere. And we can demonstrate that again in wireframe mode. We see there's nothing left of our sphere. And if we apply that and move the sphere away, we've taken a chunk out of the sphere, but the other way this time. Well, in this case, if we want to cut a hole in, let's see how it applies back on the bishop. So let's set our sphere back into the bishop itself, and this time select the bishop first, and then add a modifier of type boolean, and select the object as the sphere. So with intersect, it's cut out of the sphere. So that's the opposite way. That was the difference when it was the other way around. Excellent. And let's try union. Well, that's hopefully going to look the same as it did before. Yes, it becomes 1 after the operation. And difference. Well, that, after it's applied, will eat away at our model. That's brilliant. That's exactly what we want to see. Oh, it looks kind of like a spaceship or a hole in there. Perhaps if you wanted to make a hole in the bottom of the tree to hide in. Who knows? So that's the boolean operator. I'm now going to undo those changes because I don't want to ruin my bishop. And I'm going to delete that sphere. Excellent. Zoom back out. Yep, everything's intact. I've not modified our bishop at all. So, challenge time. I would like you to cut a notch in the bishop. So, using a boolean modifier, cut a notch from the bishop's hat in the top. If you need to have a look at reference material to make sure its placement is good, then go ahead and do that. Pause the video now and give that a go. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's go cut a notch in the bishop's hat. Right, so the first thing I want to do is just generate something and think about where it's going through. So I want to make my notch diagonal, and I also want to make it slightly wedge shaped. So I'm going to create myself a new mesh object in object mode, so it's separate. Excellent. I'm going to make it more wedge shaped as well. I don't care about the scale at the moment, I can play about with that at will. So I'm going to pop into edit mode, grab an edge like this one and just move it in to make a wedge. It doesn't need to be quite that angle. Definitely don't want it that big, probably more like that. And the final thing I think I want to do is just round it off ever so slightly, not much. This is going to spoil the geometry if I do that, maybe. Let's leave it like that and see how that works. The next thing I want to do is move it closer to my bishop itself. So I'm going to hop back over into object mode and move it about so it's almost in the right place. I've still got snapping turned on. That could be useful in this case, but not. Well, it's close enough. Let's brought it to our model. Let's pop it there and push it in. We may need to scale this up and down as we go. Okay, that's looking good there. However, I want mine the other way round, so I can just rotate that by on the Z-axis by 180, then move it back in on the Y-axis. Back in, and that's cutting in there. It looks a bit too deep a cut. I don't really want to go beyond here, so I've got a couple of options there. In this case, I'm going to scale that only on the XY, no, only on the Z-axis, I think. So scale on the Z-axis rather than going into wireframe. Oh, I've not left myself enough space. Must remember that. Excellent. I do need it to come out. So about there. I'm going to lift that back up and push it back ever so slightly. And I do need to scale it probably on the X-axis at this point. So let's do that now. Scale on the X-axis just to push it out. I'm going to whiz around the model. Yeah, that's all the way through our model. I'm just going to pull it up ever so slightly more because we're still around there. Do I want to chop off any of this little bobble on the top? Maybe, in this case not. So I'm just going to rotate it away to play with it a little further and pull it out. And I've exhausted my artistic license at this point. Right, I now need to apply this. So I'm going to select the bishop first and then go to add modifier and boolean. I'm going to select the object that we're going to use, which is the cube, which is no longer a cube, and we don't want intersect. We want difference in this case. I'm going to apply the modifier, and then I've got two options. In this case, I'm just going to hide the cube in case it's not quite right. Oh, I like that lots. In fact, I like it so much, I'm going to do one final thing before I let that go. I'm going to undo those changes, and I'm going to just adjust the cube ever so slightly. I'm going to rotate it around the Y-axis, so that our slice comes through at a slight angle. So I think it's going to add a tiny bit of a dynamic to it and make it look that little bit better. And I'm just going to move that back out there so it's not touching. Right, I'm happy with that, so I'm going to add my modifier again, which is already there. In fact, all I need to do now is apply it. Excellent. I'm going to hide my cube in the outliner and just check that out again. Brilliant, I've got exactly the slant that I wanted in my bishop's hat. How did you guys get on? Please share in the discussions, and I will see you in the next lecture.